There we go. It should be recording. Did everybody get a notice about that? Okay. All right, we'll start again. So tonight we will have our introductions. We'll talk about pathways to law school as students here at Oakland University. We are fortunate to have Grace Henning here from the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. She's going to tell us about their great programs, and hopefully you brought some questions that you can ask her that are specific to you or that other students may benefit from. And then we will hear from Sarah Jahemiak, who is our Assistant Director of Advising in Interdisciplinary Studies. She'll just tell you about how to find an advisor and that you should be meeting with your advisors. So we will get started here. So, typically, since many of you have already met with me, you probably already know this, but there's a traditional path to going to law school, which is where you finish your degree. It's a 120 credit degree, typically takes 4 years, sometimes a little bit longer. You would take the LSAT typically in the summer before your last fall semester. And then you would apply to law school in that fall semester right before you graduated. Um, and then you'd be accepted and you would start your law school journey. We also have a 3+3 program here. We have one in the interdisciplinary studies area, and we also have it in our College of Arts and Sciences, where there's many majors that have a 3+3 uh, uh, program in affiliation with the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. That program, it accelerates things. So instead of the summer before your senior year, you're in the summer before your junior year, you're taking the LSAT. You're applying to law school in the summer of your junior year. We can't guarantee that you will be admitted because the law school is going to, scrutinize your application just like all other applications. But if you do get in, it's a way for you to save a year of schooling here at Oakland. Once you would be admitted, your first year of law school credits transfer back to Oakland, and then that's when you would be awarded your bachelor's degree here. So 3+3 is a great opportunity, but the traditional path it's traditional. It's what most people do. And so, if you find yourself on that path, that's perfectly fine. Um, I'm going to turn this over now uh, uh, to Grace. She has just been we're very fortunate for her to join us and to share everything she knows about uh, Detroit Mercy School of Law. So thanks, Grace.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to get to talk to you guys tonight. Every year we have a handful of Oakland University students who come in and are extremely successful at Detroit Mercy Law. So before I start, and I'm not going to take too long because I would rather answer your questions than listen to myself talk. I listen to myself talk all day most of the time. And so I want to know what you guys have questions for me, but I'm curious if you guys can put in the chat, what year are you planning on starting law school? So, 2026, 27, 28. I'm just kind of curious about what, year you are thinking of, 26, 27. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so we have some people thinking ahead, and I love that. You guys are ahead of the game as we're thinking of 2027. I know I met Nathan a couple of weeks ago at Detroit Mercy Law as well. So we had an open house and I was able to meet with him. So, okay, fantastic. So you guys are thinking ahead, which is great. I think it's always smart because timing is everything with the law school application process. And so the earlier you get your application in the process, the higher chance you have at admissions and the higher chance you have for scholarships. This is true across the board at basically all law schools. It's especially true at Detroit Mercy Law because we keep our class sizes so small. We are a purposefully very tight-knit, small community. If you've ever been to our building, we are just one building. We are 3 stories. We have 2 floors of classrooms and professors' offices, 1 floor of administrative offices, and that's it. So it's really a great community to be a part of right in the heart of downtown Detroit. So we have a few different programs. Um, Professor Thor mentioned the 3+3 program, and I want to touch on that first for you guys. So this is fantastic. We have a group of people who come through it every year and who are very successful in law school, very motivated, very driven. A couple things you should keep in mind. There are more stringent application requirements for the 3+3 program that you must meet in order to even be considered by the admissions committee. So you need a 154 or above LSAT score at this time, or a 3.5 not LSAT score, 3.5 GPA or above to be considered for that program. So as you are going through your program at Oakland, as you are going through and deciding if you're going to apply as a 3+3 student, just keep these benchmarks in mind. It is different if you're applying as a traditional law student. There is more wiggle room with the LSAT. There is more wiggle room with the GPA because you're coming in with your bachelor's degree, where this is a special agreement when we think about the 3+3 program. So we have some more stringent application standards. Those weren't made up by me. Those were voted on by the faculty when they said that we could have this program. So just keep that in mind when we're thinking about the 3+3 program. Coming in as a traditional student, obviously that's what most people do, is fantastic as well. Don't think, oh my gosh, I'm behind because I did 4 years at Oakland. I'm doing 3 years at Detroit Mercy. You are not behind. You are on the perfect path for yourself. And I don't want you to be rushing yourself thinking you have to do the 3+3 program. I love the 3+3 program, but traditional is just as good for certain people. So like I mentioned, Detroit Mercy Law, we're in the heart of downtown Detroit. If you haven't come to visit us, I really hope you will. I do tours on Tuesday and Thursdays. I host open houses every year as well. I host one in the fall. It just passed. We'll be hosting one in January that I would love to see you guys at. But I'm going to not talk again too much, and I would love to hear what questions do you guys have either about Detroit Mercy Law or the application process. I realized I didn't like credential myself. I've been with Detroit Mercy Law now for 5.5 years. I've been on the admissions team the whole time. I've been the director of admissions for 3.5 years. So every year I read over 700 applications to law school. So I read a lot of law school applications. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about Detroit Mercy Law or just applications in general. I think I've got a good handle on them at this point. And you can put them in the chat or come off mute. I don't mind either way.
I just have a question. If you could go through like the whole application process, like the first thing that we should be doing, either like our last year of undergrad or like the very first step to it until like we find out if we're accepted or not.
Yeah. Okay. So great question, Melanie. So this actually is going to start in your junior year. So I'm going to talk about this as the traditional 4-year, 3-year. It's all just moved forward a year if you're in the 3+3 program. So as a traditional student, your junior year is when you want to start thinking, okay, when do I want to take the LSAT? What is going to be something that is feasible for me with my school commitments and other life commitments? My recommendation is to be thinking about maybe the June after your junior year. That gives you some time to not be back to back with finals, not be back to back with anything, but you can still have plenty of time to study. It also gives you the June after your junior year, gives you the opportunity to retake it should you need to. We're going to go with that you only need to take it once and you get to have a fantastic summer and you don't have to study for the LSAT, anything like that. But if you have to retake it, June lets you have the time and the space to study for a second LSAT in September or October and still get your completed application in extremely early in the application process. I don't recommend back-to-back LSATs ever. Every once in a while, someone defies those odds and they're the exception, but back-to-back LSATs is not going to be the best choice for you. So thinking August and September, September and October, because for those of you who have taken the LSAT, you know this, it takes 2 weeks to get your LSAT score, which I don't know why I'm not in charge. I wish I was so I could change that, but it takes 2 weeks to get your LSAT score. And then you have like 10 days until you would sit for your next LSAT. That doesn't give you time to restudy, change anything you did, anything like that. So no back-to-back LSATs. So we're taking the LSAT in June after our junior year and maybe September or October if we have to. Hopefully we don't have to. You're looking at hopefully getting your application in before the end of the year. Before, December 31st of the fall before you want to start law school. So if we're thinking we're starting in 2027, because Melanie, that's when you said you were thinking of starting, you want to be submitting your completed application around now, next year. So almost an entire year in advance is when you want to be applying. And then from there, unfortunately, it's out of your hands. It's with us. It's with the admissions committee. Detroit Mercy Law has a committee made up of faculty members. I'm on the committee who are reviewing, reading applications, and making those decisions. First decisions start coming out in December, and they'll come through to January and February. So that's kind of the timeline of it. Does that answer your question, Melanie?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question, Angelina. So she asked, what qualities or experiences make an applicant stand out to you in your admissions process? I think for us, we're really looking for people who are passionate about pursuing a legal education. Wherever that passion comes from is good and is perfect. I think, we all have different reasons for wanting to go into the law. So looking internally and why do I want to go to law school, and someone who has really reflected on that stands out to us. Qualities that are sometimes hard for you to showcase, but are showcased through letters of recommendation, are work ethic. People who, I think back, the best letter of recommendation I got last year is I was looking at this one applicant and I couldn't decide. I like seriously was like, I don't know. And I got to her letter of recommendation and her professor said they would have rather had 20 of her in a class as opposed to 24.0 students in a class. And I was like, wow, that is someone I want to have in my community. So, choosing your recommenders wisely who can hopefully speak that highly of you, because it could, tip the scales in a direction, is something that is going to stand out to us. I think, don't be too focused on having the right experiences. It's fantastic if you can have an internship with a prosecutor, with a judge, with something like that. We love to see that. But if you don't get that, I don't think that's the end of the world. I think that you can showcase your professionalism and your abilities through a variety of different situations. So we're just really looking for someone who has the passion and has the work ethic, because law school is really hard. And the people who do best are the ones who are going to be working the hardest. And so that's really what we're looking for you to showcase for us through your application, is that passion and the willingness to work hard and the work ethic as kind of demonstrated through letters of recommendation, as well as your LSAT score and your GPA.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, this is what recommendation or tips do you have when studying for the LSAT practice tests? You need to be taking so many practice tests that you are so bored of them and you never want to look at a practice test again. And it's not just taking them, it's going to be evaluating yourself when you take the practice test. There are a lot of free practice tests online and low cost practice tests online. But what I think my biggest thing is, so the LSAT, it's not a test of knowledge, it's a test of skill. So you can learn to take the LSAT well. I believe everyone can learn to take the LSAT well. And so what you're going to do is you'll sit down, you'll take your practice test, and I want you to take your notebook that you have next to you. And there are going to be questions where you're going to be deciding between A and C. You're going to say, both of these seem right. These both seem right to me. I have to make a guess, and you're going to guess. And so you're going to write down question 18, deciding between A and C. And then after you take the test, go back and see, was I right in my guess or was I wrong in my guess? And what was the thing that was tripping me up? Did I miss a word in the question? Sometimes the LSAT is tricky because it will be like, which is most of something, which is more of something, or there's a but in the question that you miss, which really impacts it. So understanding those questions that you got wrong, why you got them wrong, and the questions that you were between two answers are going to help you improve your score the most. In my opinion, just practice testing. I don't think you have to pay for those $3,000 courses, those $5,000 courses. If you need help finding resources, I know your advisors at Oakland can help you find resources, and I am always happy to help you find resources. I have a lot of free and low cost resources in my back pocket because I don't like those really expensive ones that promise you like a 15-point jump if you play hopscotch every Saturday, because that's what's in the fine print. So that, I think, is my biggest tip for studying for the LSAT, is going to be just practice testing until you're really bored of practice testing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so letters of recommendation, how many should you have with your application? You're required to submit 2, but you may submit up to 4. It doesn't make a difference. If you only submit 2, we're not going to be like, why didn't she submit 3? Or why didn't he submit 4? We require 2, so 2. But if you have more people who speak to, your abilities, your skill set, feel free to ask them to write you a letter of recommendation. On the topic of letters of recommendation, I like to remind people of, it's important who you ask, and asking the wrong person can be a big detriment to your application. So who would be the wrong person? Your cousin's wife, who's a lawyer, your best friend's dad, who's a judge, who you've known since you were 5, your next door neighbor. These aren't professional connections. So we're looking for professional connections. And if you are coming from straight from undergrad, at least 1, if not 2 of your letters of recommendation should be from professors. Okay, most recent, let's see, what are the most recent admission averages for LSAT and GPA for scholarships? Okay, so our medians were this past year, our median LSAT was a 156 and our median GPA was a 3.51. So I would say most of our students who receive scholarships have one or both of those metrics at or above one of those metrics who receive scholarships. When we're looking for more significant scholarship, we do start looking towards maybe our 75th percentile, which was a 159 and a 3.75. So that would be 25% of our classes above those two at or above those 2 numbers. So when we're looking at that really significant, it's that, but we do take excellence in all forms when we're reading applications. So it's not only LSAT and GPA that comes into play for our merit-based scholarships. We're also looking at past experiences and other areas of past excellence. Let's see. Alea, does it look okay when applying if it took us longer than 4 years to graduate due to a double major or changing majors? Yeah. Yeah, it looks fine. I'm not paying attention to necessarily how long it took you to graduate. You're graduating with the same degree as someone who took 3 years, someone who took 4 years, someone who took 7 years. It's the same degree. And so we're really looking at how you did in those classes. So it's totally fine. I don't know if I've ever even paid attention to how long someone took, if I'm being honest. I think only once have I, and it's because they did it so fast. I was like, how did they do this? So I had to go like read the transcript to figure that out. Allison asked, do any students receive full rides? If so, what would a student need to have on their application to achieve that? Yes, we do offer 100% tuition scholarships. That is when we're really going to be looking on the number side. Again, we're looking at above those 75th percentiles, which are 159 for this past class and 3.75. Those do change every year. That's something I want you guys to be aware of. So when we're looking at, coming in 2028 or 2027, those could fluctuate. All schools are required to tell you what they are, though. So if a school isn't telling you, they are supposed to be telling you. And it will be on our website. So if you go all the way to the bottom of any law school's website under consumer required disclosures, there's something called a 509, and that will tell you the medians and the 75th. But if we're looking for scholarships, we're really looking for high academic achievement, as well as something else that kind of maybe sets you over the edge: community involvement, a really cool job, a really interesting passion for the law. Things like that are something. It's kind of a nebulous decision. The way it works, you don't have to do anything extra to apply for scholarships at Detroit Mercy Law. Your application to Detroit Mercy Law is your application for scholarships. In my reading of the application, I will make a recommendation for scholarship, and then the committee either says yes, or the committee says, tell us more. Why do you think this? Or they say no. So those are kind of the three answers, but there's nothing you have to do more to apply for scholarships, which I really like. Nathan asks, how does Detroit Mercy Law support students studying for the bar exam? Good question. Thinking in advance, which I appreciate. You got to pass the bar to be a practicing attorney. We have a bar exam strategies course that you can take the semester before you graduate that is taught by our assistant dean of bar preparation, Sarah Garrison. She is fantastic. She teaches as many sections as she needs to for students to be able to take that course. So students who, are the semester before they graduate, eligible to sign up for that. You take that for a semester. You're not required to. Highly recommend you do. Most students do. You're going to graduate most likely in early May. It's always a Friday of Mother's Day weekend. And then the bar exam is at the end of July. And so you're going to study for that whole period. So for that period, we're going to pair you with a faculty bar mentor. The faculty bar mentor will be there to help guide you through the bar study process. It's a faculty member who has passed the bar. All of our faculty members have passed the bar and have practice experience. And they'll meet with you weekly, bi-weekly, via text, FaceTime, Zoom. In full transparency, my mom is a faculty member at Detroit Mercy Law, and she's a faculty bar mentor, and she has answered the phone when we're up north at the beach, at the lake, every single year when people are studying for the bar exam. So your faculty bar mentor will be really accessible to you to help you, be prepared both emotionally and content-wise to take the bar exam. Let's see. It's totally fine to take the LSAT more than once. I say once we've taken it 3 times, we need to reevaluate and see where we're at. Because if we're retaking it and not doing well, then something needs to change. I'm happy to meet with you to talk about that, but don't be concerned about twice. That's fine. our aim is once, twice is fine. But, what law firms do most students get a summer internship at when they attend Detroit Mercy Law? All of them. I think, there isn't one that I'm like, most students go here, no matter what your interests are, we have a really robust career services department who is going to be there to help you through, whatever you want to do. So if you want to work in big law, they'll help you with that. If you want to work in a small law firm, they'll help you with that. So just know that they are there to help you throughout the process. So I want to be mindful of time. I know Melanie asked one question, so I can finish up with this question about our dual degree program. We do still offer the dual program. Between us, Detroit Mercy Law, and Windsor Law in Canada. It's the only program of its kind in North America. It is where you earn both a US JD and a Canadian JD in just 3 years. So that's the time it would take to just get one of those degrees. You're a full-time student at Detroit Mercy Law and a full-time student at Windsor Law. That program it's beyond fantastic. I love that program. It is slightly more competitive to get into. It's a smaller program. It's a separate admissions committee from mine, and the USJD program. But if you're interested in international law, you're interested in cross-border issues, really, I recommend considering it. 99% of 2024 graduates from that program were employed within 10 months of graduation. So it's a very sought after degree as well. So if you're interested in it, shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk more about it. It cannot be combined with 3+3. So if you're 3+3, you can only do the USJD program. But if you're a traditional, you can do US or you can do the dual degree program.
All right, thank you so much, Grace. I am a proud U of D Law alum, and you always make us proud when you come and sing its praises and promote it. And you gave some really great advice. There was a question about workload and how tough that is. Workload, it is tough. I don't know if you want to stress
Yeah,
that.
I didn't see that one. So workload, it's hard. I think law school is really hard. I think, so let me just lay out the hours for you guys, because the biggest transition, the biggest struggle I see for students coming from undergrad into law school is the workload. Because you're all high achievers. Like, people don't go to law school who are like type B, kind of lazy or anything like that. Like, all high achievers. And so sometimes I see a struggle with that with people transitioning into law school. So at Detroit Mercy Law, if you're a full-time student, your first year, you're taking 15 credit hours in each semester. So first semester, you're taking 15 credit hours. So that means you're in class, in physical, sitting in class with your professors 15 hours a week. And then the expectation is for every 1 credit hour, you have at least 2 hours of outside of class work per week for that class. So 15 credit hours in class, we're going to time set by 2, 30 hours. Thankfully, this is easy math for me as the former philosophy major. And we're at 45 hours a week of work for a class. At minimum, your first few months are going to be more than that. It's going to be 50 or 60 hours a week of work. So the workload is heavy, but I always remind students when they're crying in my office, potentially, that I read their application and I admitted them. And so I know you are there for a reason. You have the full capability and ability to do the work. But there's a reason why we don't recommend you work your first year. And it is a big adjustment. So the thing about Detroit Mercy Law is there is help. You just have to ask for it. We have a full academic success department who is there to help you if you're struggling with time management or keeping on top of your readings, or you just do not understand what the heck is going on in legal writing or something like that. And your professors are all there for you to help you through the process. Again, we're a small school. You're not going to be in a class bigger than 60 people your first year. And so you're really going to get a lot of one-on-one attention. So I wouldn't be scared of the workload, but the workload it's intense, but I think that's a good thing because you guys are going to be the keepers of justice in our society. So I want you to have kind of 3 hard years that prepare you for a really important career.
Thanks so much for that, Grace. All right, we just have, we're just gonna follow up so that you guys are aware of resources here. So Dr. Jahemiak.
Yes, and thanks, Grace, for coming. It's always great to hear from you every year and let our students know about the information for Detroit Mercy Law. And for those of you on the call, also thank you for joining us. And if you are not familiar with our program of interdisciplinary studies, I do encourage you to check us out. I've dropped our website in the chat, so go ahead and take a look. And if you're considering either the traditional route for graduate school, or if you're thinking about the accelerated 3+3, we can help you with that. And I saw in the chat somebody said they had done a change of major. We could accept all of your credits for from your major if you're thinking about doing a change. What's really great, and we can still keep you on track to finish at that 120 if you're doing the traditional track, or keep you at that 90 if you're doing the accelerated option too. What's really great about interdisciplinary studies is that we can help you custom design your degree. And so we can help prepare you to take the LSAT. So the coursework that you're taking can help prepare you for that with the writing, the logical processing that you'd be doing for those exam questions. We can help you with the coursework for that. It doesn't necessarily matter what degree you're taking, because once you get to law school, they're going to teach you to be a lawyer. So we want you to do well on the exam so that you can go and be a lawyer. So again, take a look at us. If you're fine in your major, you're happy with it, great. If you're thinking about doing a change or considering coming over for interdisciplinary studies, our telephone number is right there on the screen. I encourage you to give us a call to set up an appointment with an advisor. We have a small team, but we'd be happy to help you through the process. And our students have been highly successful in the accelerated and the traditional programs. So come check us out. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Dr. Jahemiak. And we also have some pre-law advisors on campus as well. So I advise all students who are not political science majors. And if you are in one of the political science majors, then you would go see Dr. Walters. So reach out if you've got questions and concerns. And again, thanks, Grace, for coming and speaking to us. This was really helpful and beneficial.
Yeah, thank you. And you guys are all welcome to reach out to me at any point with any questions. My email is all over the Detroit Mercy Law website. So if you need anything, if you want to schedule a one-on-one appointment with me to talk through your application or anything like that, I'm always happy to set up one of those meetings.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you. Have a good
having
night.
us.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording. There we go.
Perfect. I didn't want to say anything.